Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. So as promised, it's actually my second video of the day. Went in and got a little shower, cooled off. Gonna get back on the road here about 1900. Go pick another load up. My fleet manager is keeping us running, which is good. Although he did send a message right at the end of the day, said he's gonna be off next week, I guess for the 4th of July, or as I like to call it, the second Independence Day. And he but the funny thing is, he made a comment about, you know, like stupid four-wheelers, and in my mind I was like, you know, I really do like him and everything, but I was like, just make sure you're not one of them, buddy. You know who I'm talking to. Yeah. So we'll be on the road over 4th of July. I don't know where we'll be actually on the 4th. I think that's a few days away. I think today's the 24th. So big news out of Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City, no, LeBron has not signed a deal with the Oklahoma City Thunder, but this will be momentous for some people at the Oklahoma City-based refrigerated carrier Frye Miller. So Frye Miller has sold, and I guess Frye Miller's mostly family owned, meaning I guess maybe there's some people that don't have the last name Frye Miller that have some equity in the company. But whoever had the equity, or a lot of it, sold a majority stake in the company to a private equity firm called Angelus Equity Partners. Now, the reason I bring all this up is, other than the famous video of the Frye Miller truck passing two Swift trucks on I-10 in Arizona on the shoulder, the right-hand shoulder, I should say. And by the way, that video's on YouTube if you haven't seen it. It's kind of sort of amazing. But if you do watch it, I mean, certainly the Frye Miller driver was like so wrong. But what's really amazing is that the cars that were behind the Frye Miller truck immediately climbed right up on the bumper of one of the Swift trucks, the Swift truck in the right-hand lane. I'm like, you got three trucks going side by side down a road with only two travel lanes, and you want to be really close to all of them? I thought that was a bad decision. But anyway, that's a Frye Miller video for you. But here's why this kind of piqued my interest. Because no business that is taken over, and let's be candid, this is a takeover. When somebody owns a majority stake in your company, they have the majority say in how the company gets run. In fact, I would be willing to guess that the documents, I haven't seen the term sheet, I didn't see the contract, the documents buying the equity, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn that Angelus Equity Partners can remove any officer of the company that they want. They can make changes that they want. And if you're a driver for Frye Miller, I don't really have an opinion either way on whether the company was a good place to work or a bad place to work, or sort of good, sort of bad, any of that. I've never really heard a lot. But if you're a driver there, your life is going to change, and it may change quickly and significantly. Private equity, they didn't buy half this company, and by the way, the amount was undisclosed, but they paid a bunch of insiders a bunch of money to control the company. Those insiders already know that they've received their payoff. They're not counting on having jobs tomorrow or Monday or whatever you want to say. And none of you should either. Every trucking company that's been, I shouldn't say every, but a lot of trucking companies that have been taken over by private equity, it's like they signed a deal with Dracula. And slowly, or sometimes quickly but surely, the blood was sucked out of that company. Angelus Equity Partners, unless they're like the nicest private equity firm in the history of private equity, is going to pull as much money out of that investment as they can. Because keep in mind, Angelus Equity Partners probably is they're playing with house money. They have investors that they have to keep happy. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to get all of their investment back. How do they do that? They, instead of trucks running 350,000 miles before they trade them in, guess what? 500,000 or 600,000 now. You know how your company used to have well-maintained trailers? Well, that's going to change slightly. When somebody leaves the shop, they're not going to be replaced. There's going to be all sorts of changes. People that, dispatchers that aren't super productive and whose trucks aren't showing profits, they're going to start weeding people out. And they're going to bleed the company of every dime they can get, because that's what private equity does. I'm not saying how quickly, I'm not saying it's going to happen in a year or 2 years, but you're going to slowly but surely see things change, and none of it's going to make you happy. You know, maybe they have washers and dryers that you could use for free. Now they're going to put in washers and dryers you got to put money into. Maybe they had other amenities. Maybe they paid bonuses. Everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. If you're a guy that's not a strong runner, and you never have been, and you're not running at least 2,500 miles a week, because maybe you just only like to run 2,200 and no one ever really said much about it, you may find yourself on the chopping block. They may say, well, we're not getting our money's worth out of that truck. Get rid of him. Let's find somebody that will run 2,800 a week. So if you're at Frye Miller, you know, keep your eyes peeled, because they didn't invest in your company to just break even. They didn't invest in your company for the long haul. That's not how private equity works. And if you don't believe me, look at some of the companies that private equity did take over, like Super Service is one example that I know of well. They bled Super Service dry and then sold the assets to J&R Schugel for, as somebody told me at Schugel, well, we bought this for pennies on the dollar. I said, if you paid 2 cents per dollar, you overpaid, because they was only worth 1 cent after the private. Whatever it was, you paid too much. That's how private equity rolls. So my condolences to those of you who are at Frye Miller and who like the place, but the place you like is gone. You may not know it yet, but it is. So good luck to everybody. You know, you don't want to be the last one out the door. If things change, if they start changing, and they will, you know, that's your cue to head for the hills and find another job at another company that's going to treat you right and not kind of roll the clock back in order to take money out of the company. And let me contrast this real quick with acquisitive public companies. So, for instance, Heartland Express has bought a couple of decent-sized trucking companies over the past 3 or 4 years. But Heartland Express, that's a whole different kettle of fish. And the reason I say that is because Heartland Express is a trucking company. They just bought other trucking companies. And they bought it, and they're publicly traded, so a lot of this is out in the open. But Heartland wants to make those other units profitable. Just like when K&X bought, you know, other trucking companies like Bar None and AAA Cooper and who are the green ones? Abilene, you know. So those corporate entities, those holding companies that are publicly traded, they want to make profit in all their units. Their goal is not to like bleed the place dry and then sell it off for pennies on the dollar. That's not their goal. So I want to be clear about the difference. So anyway, if you got questions, and if you work for Frye Miller, I'd love to hear from you and hear what the kind of the scuttlebutt is, what people are talking about around the water cooler or the coffee pot. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. We'll get back to you soon with another edition of Tim Travels. Bye.